Welcome to the Breaking 90 podcast, where we talk about all things sustainable fat loss. We take people on 90-day journeys to creating fat loss forever. Thanks for listening. I hope you enjoy the episode. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Breaking 90 podcast. I'm here today with my co-host, Kelly Sarlo, and we are the coaches of Breaking 90 Fitness. Thank you guys for being here. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoy this episode.
It's good to be
Kelly.
back.
Yeah, it's been a minute for sure. How are you doing?
Good, you?
I'm doing great.
Good. What's new in your world?
What's new? Well, there's lots new since the last time we recorded together, but just today I got outside. As you know, I've got my Spartan race coming up, so trying to do lots of trail running and just putting in lots of kilometers in general. So today what I did is I took my dog, we went into the bush and we just went for a run. No goal for pace or anything like that, which I like to do once or twice a week, just like a free run type of thing. And it was great because we got a little bit lost, so the run ended up being longer than we had intended, and it was fun. And like, because there was no rules around what we were trying to accomplish, like we walked some areas, we ran some areas, and we had natural obstacles. We were outside for a good hour and a half. It was awesome. I love trail running for that fact that it's just like, it's not always that same consistent you get on a treadmill or a street.
Yeah, that's lovely. I'm sure Maisie enjoyed herself too.
She did, yeah. She was like, a couple times she's like looking back at me, she's like, are we still doing this?
This is the best, Dad. Is it over?
She tried to catch some squirrels. Yeah, it was a
Oh,
good. Well, she unsuccessfully. She's on a leash with me, anyways. But it's all fun for her.
had she been successful, what would that have looked like?
She would kill it and leave its body.
Okay, good stuff.
That's what she does when she catches small creatures.
All right.
Yeah, not other dogs and stuff, but she catches lots of mice and things around the yard. She's not a nice girl.
Fair enough. I like that you had to qualify she wouldn't catch another dog.
Yeah. Don't worry, guys. You don't have to hide your dogs.
Maybe small cats.
Yeah. Maybe a small cat. No, she's good with our cat. I think if we brought like a hamster into the house, it'd be a dangerous game.
Yeah. Yikes. Oh,
What
wow.
do you have now that we've traumatized our audience? What do you have for a topic today?
So I was looking back on previous episodes, and I was specifically looking back at season 2. It was episode 49. We talked about knowing when you need a coach. And I thought, I'm sure a lot of people can identify when-ish in their life they would benefit from a coach, especially if they're in an identifiable rut. What I wanted to kind of talk about today was, how do I get myself ready, willing, and able? We talk about these 3 things a lot in order to be coachable. But if I know I need a coach and I know I'm not ready, willing, and able, how can I help myself get there?
Cool. I love it. I want to start this by saying this can be any area of your life. There are coaches for everything.
Yeah.
And if we look at some of the best athletes in the world, all of the best athletes in the world have coaches. That's really, really important to understand. Their coaches are not better than them at the sport. Their coaches are better at taking an outside look and helping them get to the next goal. That's really important.
Cool.
Um, it's like obviously LeBron James isn't getting coached by basketball players that are better at basketball than him, but he understands the value of having coaches. He has mindset coaches, he has physical therapy coaches, he has basketball coaches. Like, these people who are the absolute top of what they do bring in coaches in all different aspects of their life, which I love. And I think this can relate back to anything. Like, if you struggle with your finances, consider bringing in a financial coach. If you struggle with your sleep, bring in a sleep coach. Like, this isn't obviously, I'd love for you guys to listen to this and be like, oh yeah, you know what, I need a health and fitness coach and it sounds like I'd like to work with you. But this isn't just about health and fitness. Like, coaches are there for a reason. We often get stuck in a little bit of that thinking that, well, I don't need a coach. Like, that's not really for me. But everybody can benefit from a coach right from the time kids are like Emerson's 5 years old in hockey. He has coaches. The
Mhm.
best hockey players in the world have coaches, and every player in between that wants to advance their game is probably going to bring in a coach. So I think that's just a really, really important piece to wrap your head around when you start considering this. So to go ahead if you want to add something,
I do.
I'll write down what I want to touch on because I know I didn't directly answer your question. Go ahead.
That's okay. I know it's gonna be over the course of the podcast, but I actually just wanted to put into one word what you're talking about because I don't think a lot of people will necessarily know to give language to what you're talking about. I'm hearing the word humility. So knowing that we all need coaches, you touched on Emerson being young and having a hockey coach. Well, we have speech pathologists for young children. We have teachers. They're the first kinds of coaches that they're often
Totally.
exposed to, right? Um,
Totally.
Having humility to know that we all need them for different areas of our life can be one of the things that sets you up to be ready, willing, and able. The other thing that you're talking about a little bit subconsciously there is education, right? You just told us that LeBron James has coaches that are not necessarily better than him in one area, but can offer him a different perspective. So being educated on what a coach does
Mm.
can sometimes get you ready, willing, and able to listen, to be open.
Yeah, that's awesome. Something you mentioned there that I need to touch on is that we all have coaches at different stages of our life, and they aren't always called a coach,
Mhm,
right? Like a coach to me, I don't know what the exact definition is, but a coach to me is somebody who holds you accountable, guides and supports you.
mhm.
And so that's your family members, your friends, that's teachers, like you said, your parents when you're growing up. Like it's somebody holding you accountable to a plan and guiding and supporting you. And so that might not always be called a coach, but we've all experienced working with a coach if we look at it from that point of view.
That's
Yeah.
cool because you're taking out the mystery of the word coach. You're taking out this like potential opportunity to be put on a pedestal when we think, maybe I need a health and fitness coach, maybe I need a financial coach. And you're just saying, like, well, we've all had them already. So why would it be any different that I'm seeking out a coach in this area of my life?
Yeah, a really good example of this is that like what we offer our clients is that guidance, support, accountability, and a clear plan and path to their goals. People will often message message me or one of us that aren't working with us and be like, "Oh, I'm so sorry to waste your time. Like I know I'm not working with you. I know I'm not one of your clients." But like people aren't paying us for us to answer one question or to point them in a direction of a workout. People aren't paying us for workouts, honestly, because workouts are a dime a dozen. Information you can find anywhere on Google. I would rather you ask me, get clarity, and get the right answer than spend an hour on Google getting a bunch of wrong answers and head in the wrong direction. So I don't get caught up in like, well, no, you're not working with me. You can't ask me a question. It's just the same way that I don't get caught up. I don't feel like our clients come to us for the workout. If
Hmm.
you're just coming to us to have a workout programmed, like I'll give you a good website to go to for free to find good workouts. That's not what a coach is here for. I'm not here just to program a workout in for you to go do on your own and check it off and say I did it on your own. This is all about accountability, support, and guidance.
Hmm. Cool. So can I come
Okay.
back to the question?
Yes. So your question was, um, if somebody feels like they aren't ready, willing, and able to be coached, how do they get there or know when they are there? To
How do they
me,
get there?
ask the coach.
Oh, cool.
Like if you are wondering, have that conversation. I would rather somebody come to me and be like, "Listen, I know I'm not ready for coaching right now, but I would love to eventually do this. Can we have a chat about what that looks like and how I can get there?" Because that's not going to look the same from person to person.
Mhm.
And I think if that's on your mind, like make it easy on yourself.
Yeah. That's
Ask the coach.
brilliant. Yeah, because 'cause you're clarifying actually, you're clarifying what's going to be required of you. So I think a lot of people have a preconceived idea of what it means to work with a coach and what's gonna be required of them, and you're saying, "I'm just gonna fact check myself. I'm gonna ask straight from the horse's mouth, what what will this entail if I say yes to working with you? Then I can walk away with this informed checklist, not a checklist of assumptions. And I can look at that and go, okay, how can I start getting my ducks in a row? What's needed for that to happen? And then I have a timeline of when I can and should call that person back or another person in that field to say, ready, willing, and able.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the same with any profession, really. Like if you have a medical ailment that's bothering you, you're going to go ask your doctor. It doesn't mean that you need to do the surgery tomorrow, but you should definitely go get the information and find out what it's going to look like.
Love that.
Right? If your car starts squealing, like, you should go get it checked out. You're not gonna be like, "Well, I don't really have the money right now to fix it." Well, let's see what the problem is, because maybe it's not as bad as you think it is, or maybe it is worse and you need to start budgeting for something worse, but go get clarity.
Hmm. Cool.
Yeah. This is an interesting topic, and it's one that I think a lot of people can connect with because we see it all the time. I think we all make assumptions about what something is, and often getting a little bit of clarity around that will help at least answer some of your questions or ease your mind about whether or not this is something you want to entertain, because I think a lot of the times people get caught up in thinking that um when they come into something like breaking 90, it's like, okay, I'm coming into a workout program, right?
Hmm.
And it's not like exercise is obviously a large part of what we do, but there's so much more to it. I mean, we've got clients who walk every day and that's it. And I don't say that's it, like it's not enough, because it is. For that person, it absolutely is.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not like they came to be told to walk.
Right.
It's not like we designed the route that they are going to walk. They came for a lot more than that, and we're accomplishing much bigger things than that. So, um, yeah. Yeah, what are your thoughts on all of this?
I love it because I'm constantly equating what you're saying to another area of life. And I think about, a lot of people will say, well, I'm not wealthy enough to financially invest. Well, if you didn't call a financial advisor and ask them what it requires of you each month, then you might not know that you can start investing with $5 a month, right? I'm making an uninformed example here, but you can begin once you have more information. And so for something like nutrition and fitness, if you understand that we're not going to give you a laundry list of things to do, rather some different perspectives on how you can think about what you're already currently doing, you might sit there and go, whoa, I'm actually more ready than I thought. In fact, I've already started and I've just got different perspectives now. And I
Totally.
have a
And
sorry,
oh,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. No, no, I'm gonna write my notes, so I keep you
Sure.
go.
And I have a community, or I will have a community if I sign up, of people who will support me. So when I'm out on that walk, maybe if I thought to myself, in some kind of negative self talk, that that was all I was doing and it wasn't enough. Well, now I have a different perspective to say, like, oh, I'm out on my walk. And when I'm done, I'm going to log this in my app. My coach is going to see it. They're going to give me feedback. And I'm going to hear from the group that 7 other people went on a walk today. And we can all congratulate each other and build each other up, right? So ready, willing, and able becomes this thing that is instantly a part of your reality when you thought you were so far from it.
Totally. That's awesome. And so that's what I wanted to add, is the person who feels like they're not ready, willing, and able, well, they're making an assumption, really, because they don't really know what ready, willing, and able is yet.
Mhm.
Um, I know, because this is my field, this is what I do. And I don't expect you to know, listening to this, if this isn't your field and this isn't what you do. You're a master of something else that you know inside and out. So just if you don't feel like you're ready, willing, and able, don't assume that's a final answer, because until we have that conversation, and we might have that conversation and come to realize that you aren't ready, willing, and able, but
Mhm.
we can set out a clear action plan and timeline. And um excuse me, one of the other things you mentioned was somebody it was a different example, but saying, well, maybe I'm not ready to invest in my financial. situation. We see this one a lot. Maybe I'm not ready to invest either financially in my health and fitness or with my time in my health and fitness.
Right.
And so sitting down and having this very real conversation, which is not going to cost you financially, but it is going to cost you some of your time. But I mean, let's be real, we all have time to have a 40-minute or a 30-minute phone call and go over some really important stuff together. It might open your eyes to different possibilities or avenues. It might make you realize that, yeah, I do have the time, but I'm not prioritizing my time properly. Maybe I didn't think that I was ready to financially invest in my health, but now I realize that if I stop doing takeout food twice a week, that this is a really real possibility. Or if I allocate some of that money that I was putting towards this towards something that's much more in line with my goals, maybe this is a real possibility, right? And that can be really difficult to do on your own. It
Mhm.
can it absolutely helps to have an outside look at your situation.
Yeah, another component I think about is the willingness in terms of being told what to do. Because I think a lot of people have, again, an assumption that you're going to be told what you can do and what you can't do. And it's the what you can't do where people are like, I don't really want to listen to another person, right? Restrict me. But when you find out from an investor that you choose how much you get to invest, and you find out from a health and fitness coach how many minutes you feel is reasonable to begin, right? And we're not going to tell you what not to eat. We're going to tell you just how to count and measure what you're eating so that you get a rough idea of what you're intaking in a day. Then there isn't this finger wagging, you have to feel. You actually have all of your freedom to yourself. And so this willingness to participate becomes that much greater of an opportunity because you're not being told that you're having your choices taken away from you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really important factor. I'm gonna give two examples that just happened in this past week. So I had a client reach out and say, I'm going to be starting back at a group fitness gym twice a week next week. And so they came to me and told me that because it'll change the way that we coach, it'll change the way that we decide on nutritional requirements, and it'll change the way that we plan the rest of their daily movement and exercise throughout the week around that. But what that client understood and realized that it wasn't a question of them asking if they could or if they should or how, like, it's one or the other. Like, it's not about that. That's not what we're here for. It's that, like, there's a lot that goes into a decision like that. If you want to do the group fitness, that's amazing. I hope you do, because it's going to help you with your community. It's going to help you with your accountability. It's just another layer of support. I think that's great. Let's make it work with your plan, right?
Mhm.
So that's just an example of how this isn't like a one size fits all type of thing. And when you work with a
Yeah.
coach's job is to make it work, make the situation work. Um, any questions about that part before I go into the second example?
No, I was just going to comment that what isn't being said is that a client can reach out and say, like, hey, how can you support me in this? And also, how can you educate me so I can best support myself? Right.
Totally.
Because if we're looking at a dietary lifestyle and we've been so far putting them into a caloric deficit to to the most sustainable ability that we can, and they're going to up their activity now, maybe shift the type of activity or up it, then we look at the nutrition and say, okay, how can we support you by giving you more calories because of your output has increased? How can we shift everything else in your support system to make sure that this is possible, instead of the client going into an all or nothing thinking that when one thing shifts nothing else should have to, right?
Yeah. Unrelated side note here for people listening, thinking that more exercise equals faster progress. By adding more exercise, we don't always make faster progress. This is really important because it's increasing the caloric output, like Kelly mentioned, which is increasing the caloric deficit if we continue to eat the same. But really important thing is, are we still in a sustainable range? The bigger caloric deficit is not always the answer. We need to create a caloric deficit that allows for adequate energy and recovery, and performance in our exercise and daily movement, which is important. If we create too much of a caloric deficit, if we eat too little, our recovery, energy, and output will be affected, and it's going to hinder our results. If
Mhm.
we're not recovering properly, we're not going to make progress properly. So that's not related to this topic, but I think it's important for people listening, hearing somebody adding exercise to their routine, because it's
Yeah.
really easy for us to get in that more mentality. Um, okay. So then the other example was somebody, this is from a nutrition standpoint, somebody reaching out and saying, um, I had a wedding on Saturday that I went to, and I went off the rails. Like,
Mhm.
drinking, eating, went crazy. Um, People get into that can't mentality, thinking about, oh, this isn't a good time for me because I've got weddings and Thanksgiving and this coming up, which I won't be able to do that. So I'll wait until after wedding season. Well, this client felt comfortable enough to say, like, hey, this happened. I went off the rails. They didn't ask my permission before the wedding. We certainly can talk about tactics and strategies going into that, but there's always going to be situations where life happens or you don't make the decisions you had planned on, and that's fine. So, my immediate question in this situation is, how are you doing today? How have you been able to bounce back from that? There's no point dwelling on the fact that it became a day like that, or feeling bad about it or punishing ourselves about it. That's part of not normal life. You're always going to have obstacles and events and setbacks. There's never going to be a perfect time to consider doing something. So when you're considering if you're ready, willing, and able, you can't look at the obstacles in front of you. Life will always have obstacles. Some of them are planned, lots of them are unplanned. So then the coach steps in, and we decide, how can we help this situation in the future? If it's the type of thing that's happening often, if it's not, I don't even really care. And B, how do we get you back on track as quickly as possible? Because that's much more important than what actually happened during that one day.
Very cool. And actually, just to kind of continue what you're talking about and make hopefully some connections for people, I don't think a lot of individuals understand that we equate a coach's role almost like a parent, where we expect that if we do something against what the coach has said or in opposition to what the coach has said, that we're going to be disciplined, right? And a coach's job is not to discipline you, it's for us to educate you and support you. So, nowhere in there did you withhold affection or approval, which is what we unconsciously think about when we do something quote unquote bad, right? When we do the thing that we're told we're not supposed to do. That's not what we're here for. So if people are, and I mean this in all seriousness, if you are struggling with your parental relationship and you are used to having those figures in your life withhold from you, discipline you, over discipline you, that's not the relationship that we are offering you, right? This is about how do we continuously build you up, shift your perspective and mindset, educate you so that you can keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Yeah, yeah, super important. Especially coming into a difficult season, because you think about the obstacles that are in front of you and you're like, well, there's no way I can make this
Right.
happen. The truth is, you can. Everybody can. Maybe you have so many obstacles lined up in front of you that you aren't going to make as fast a progress as somebody else in a similar situation, or yourself at a different time of year, but you can absolutely make progress. And
Mhm.
progress, I mean, we could talk about that in a whole nother episode, what progress looks like to you. But it doesn't, getting into that all or nothing thinking where it's like, this is impossible right now, is the last thing you want to do. It will absolutely push you further from your goals.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you did a great job with my topic. So thank you.
Thank you for bringing that topic to the table. It's fun.
Yeah.
um
Do you have a tip for us today?
I do, yeah. So what I wanted to talk about is, this is a quick one. We often, I know I shop at Costco lots, and a lot of people do bulk shopping often because it's cheaper and it's easier. What will often happen though is we waste food because of this method of shopping. So the example would be, like, I buy those big flats of chicken breasts, which there's, like, I don't know, 12 chicken breasts in there. If you throw all 12 of those chicken breasts in the freezer, it's going to be much less convenient to consume 12 chicken breasts, because now you have to thaw out an entire pack. So do yourself a favor when you grocery shop, and if you're trying to introduce some form of meal prep into your life, make it just that time, that little time of period of time when you get the groceries home. That is the absolute most vital period of time for you. You can save yourself time by doing this because what's going to happen is before it even makes its way into the fridge, we are going to prep it.
Mhm.
And if we do this properly, it'll save you a ton of time because it's going to save you time when you go to cook it. It's going to save you the whole period of time where you transfer that food to the fridge, bring it back out, prep it, put it back in the fridge. So combine your shopping and prep time together. And I'm going to circle back to the meat because this is a big one. Separate the meat, marinate some of it if it needs to be marinated, put it in its freezer packs so it's ready and it's easy to use. If you're making kebabs, have it already cut up and marinating in the freezer so that when you go to use it, it's that much easier. The more ready and convenient healthy food is, the more likely we are to consume it. That goes with your vegetables, it goes with everything. It goes with your junk food too. If it's
Yep.
ready and convenient, you're way more likely to eat it.
Yeah, I'm gonna add on to that because it's also cutting down on the time that you're spending deciding on what to do with the food, right? You have an idea of why you're picking up the chicken and what you want to do with it when you're at Costco or the grocery store. Same with when you pick up certain vegetables. So if you're brainstorming and spending those mental calories to figure out what could I and should I do with this, then you pop it in the fridge or the freezer and you don't give it a second thought until you have to pull it out and go, what was I planning on doing with this again? Or what should I do? Or what do I have available? Doing it all in one day eliminates that second burn of mental calories.
Yeah. Even for like a vegetable like a pepper, if I take the core and the seeds out of the pepper and I slice it into big slices, it's then that much closer to however I'm going to use it for sure. If
Yeah.
I'm going to eat it raw, I can cut it into slightly thinner slices to dip in hummus or whatever. If I'm going to put it into an omelet, I just have to dice the chunks that are already prepped and washed and ready to go there. Make it as ready and convenient as possible for you, so that you actually use it, so that you stop wasting that food.
Cool. I love it.
That's it, guys. I know you guys are gonna have questions about this, so please reach out and let us know if there's anything more. We can make a whole nother episode about this if there's more you want us to dive into. Wherever you're listening to this, please rate it, comment on it, share it to your social media stories. You guys listening and sharing is how we get the word out there about what we're doing, and we really, really appreciate that. Thanks, guys.